Rupali, good to go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first session of the 7 Series Graduate Application Camp. My name is Rupali Verma, and I am an Education USA Advisor at New Delhi. Today's session is the Graduate Mentoring Program, where we have invited some students who have gone through the entire process of applications. They have got admits at a few US universities. And today they are with us to share their individual experiences of what worked with them, what went wrong with them during the application process. And they are going to share wonderful tips for prospective students. So we will just begin. We are still having a lot of participants entering in. There are a few students I can see who are still logging in. We request you while you are logging in to write your name, whether you are a student, you are a parent, or you are a training and a placement officer at a university. Just mention it. By doing this, it will be easy for us to have your details. We can add you to the right database. Also add your city while you are writing this. That will also be very helpful to us. Okay, so I think we are good to go. Okay. We will begin with the session very shortly. Since all of you know that this is technology and sometimes it's a little difficult to hear to the participants as well as to the panelists, it's advisable if you use headphones for enhanced audio quality. Kindly mute your microphones. We will have time at the end of the session to take your questions. There's a chat box where you can write your questions, and we'll make sure that we answer all your questions today. We will also post very useful information at the end of the session in the chat box. We have a link here, which you can see right on your screen. But then we will post this information in the chat box, and you will be easily able to take the information from there. You don't have to worry during the session. But at the same time, we advise you to note useful tips that will be shared during the next 1 hour with you. Because these tips will really, really help you during your application process. Students who are logging in for the first time, I'm sure you have been listening to a lot of webinars these days. You may have attended Education USA sessions also in the past, but then there may be a few students who are logging in for the first time. Let me give you a quick brief of the Education USA. Can we have the next slide, please? So I'll just give you a very quick brief of Education USA. Education USA is your source for higher education. It is your official source of higher education. We are supported by the Department of State with a mandate to provide students with most accurate, most comprehensive and current information. We have close to 430 plus centers across 170 countries across the globe. And in India, we have 7 centers. The centers are in Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, Mumbai, and New Delhi. So you can choose the center which is close to your place where you are staying, and you can go and meet the Education USA advisor there. Whenever you are logging in or whenever you are looking at for information on US, always remember this logo which is right there in front of you. And always remember to log on to Education USA website. Just to give you update that, can we have the next slide, please? Yeah. So it was, I just wanted to sure that you always keep this in mind that US is still the most preferred destination for Indian students. And there are more than 200,000 students from India currently studying in the US, which is the second largest group of international students from any country. As per the Open Door reports, students from India, they account for almost 18% of the international students. So that is big. So you can see how Indian students always prefer US as their first destination. We'll go to the next slide. The entire process of going to the US is summed up in 5 steps. So if you keep these 5 steps in mind, the process will never be difficult for you. It's just that you have to think on the timelines. So your first step is research your options, where you have to understand which degree or program are you interested in pursuing. How will you shortlist the universities? The next one is financing your studies. How do you fund your education? How do you complete your applications, which will include certain components? And you always need to keep in mind the deadlines of the universities. So that is very important. Your fourth step will be applying for your visa and then going for your pre-departure. So we will be covering the first 3 points today based in this mentoring session. And Education USA advisors, or if you happen to be in touch with Education USA offices, you can always take help from, once you get your admissions, we'll always help you with your visas, in providing you how to apply for your visa interviews and what is exactly the visa officers are looking for in an interview from the students. We will help you in your transition to a new, completely new environment by offering pre-departure orientation sessions. We'll go to the next slide. This is the agenda for today. This agenda will be on your screens once I go through the next two to three slides on how can you connect with Education USA. We'll go to the next slide. It's important, as I told you in the very beginning, that Education USA is your official source for higher information. You can connect with us. For the past few months, we have been offering virtual advising to the students. So on your screen, you can see all these advisors at all our 7 centers who are remotely working, but making sure that the information is reaching to the students. Next slide, please. Okay, so quickly, if you need more information, you can sign up and get Education USA updates. You can explore our calendar. You just need to go on our website, which is usief.org.in. This is the link to the calendar. We update the link for the virtual sessions happening across India. In case you want to talk to us, we have a national toll-free number. You can call up any day, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and we will be there to answer your queries. We have free virtual sessions every day. So you can attend these virtual sessions at 3:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. The information is there in the calendar. We have specialized sessions throughout the week, throughout the months. We are having sessions with US university representatives. The Education USA advisors are giving specialized sessions. So please do not miss on those sessions and do attend those sessions. You want to have a Facebook chat with your Education USA advisor, please go and like our page. We have these chats very regularly. Whatever questions you have, you just feel free to ask the Education USA advisors. Get updates on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Education USA India pages. We advise you to go on our YouTube channel, subscribe to that, and there are hundreds of videos which will really give you a lot of information on all your 5 steps. You can also download all the Education US, the information on the Education USA mobile app, which is available on Google App Store and Apple App Stores. We have individualized counseling also for the students. I won't take too much of time right now, but the information about the individualized counseling is on our website. You can go and have a look at that. And if you have any questions, please feel free to get back to us. We will start the session now. And can I request to have the agenda for discussion? Yeah. Let me introduce you to our panelists today. We have with us Yug Sarawat, who's currently residing in Ahmedabad. Hi, Yug.
Hello,
Yug will be pursuing his PhD in chemical engineering from North Carolina State University. Welcome, Yug, once again. We
thank you.
also have with us Pranav Pandekar from Mumbai. So Pranav has chosen Northeastern University to pursue masters in cyber security. Welcome, Pranav.
Hi, Rupali.
Great, Pranav. Next, we have Apurva. Apurva resides in Delhi, and she will be pursuing her master's in data sciences at University of Southern California. Hi,
Hi.
hi, Apurva. Last but not the least, we have with us Kritshekar Jha, who's originally from Varanasi, but he's currently residing in Kolkata. And Kritshekar will be pursuing PhD from Arizona State University. So, welcome everyone. It's so good to have panelists across so many cities. So, it's a diverse group today which we will be interacting with. Okay. Um, Before I go to the panelists to discuss the first point of agenda, which is what triggered the decision of studying in the US and their personal journey to gaining an admit in that specific university, let me add here that US education is known for its flexibility, it's known for its quality, and the value that it offers to the students. Students have a wide variety of programs to choose from all the concentrations within the programs. So that is the beauty of the US education. That is the USP of the US education. With this, let me start by asking Apurva here today. Apurva, you need to rewind your thoughts. All of you, in fact, need to rewind your thought process, which you did a few months back, and tell us what made you think about deciding to study in the US. What were some of the important parameters that were important to you while you were deciding, and basically, how did you prioritize those things? How did you prioritize those parameters?
So for me, my first steps were basically researching for what I want to do. So I first thing was I researched all the programs that are available in data science in US and in other countries as well. So for data science, I found that US is actually the best place with the maximum number of opportunities after your masters. So yeah, that was like my major decision to go with US for masters in data science. And yes, so before even you start like applying and think about going for tests and everything, this is the very important step that you need to keep in mind, that you need to research your options to the full 100% and see that which programs you want to go for, which universities you want to go for, and how much opportunity that particular program has after you graduate or like after you postgraduate. So yeah, those were my major deciding points. Uh, the program that I want to go for and the country.
Okay, so what triggered you to choose US?
Yeah, so US actually has the maximum number of opportunities for data scientists, and in fact, I'll say for all the software engineers. So yeah, for technical backgrounds like software engineering, data science, data mining, in fact, cybersecurity, all of these programs are basically known best to be pursued at US because of obviously all the headquarters of big tech companies are in US, be it Amazon, Facebook, Google. So yeah, you have the maximum number of opportunities in US after you pursue that program.
Perfect. Pranav, would you like to add on it and share your thoughts on what motivated you how important it is to pen down your career and your professional goals, how important it is to look at your short term and long term plans while we are shortlisting universities.
Right, sure. Rupali, that's actually a good point. So the reason
Pranav, you need to be a bit louder.
hey, is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I was saying was the reason I even decided to go for a master's degree was because in India, like I wanted to do something in cybersecurity, but in India, we're not there yet, both in terms of education and in terms of our own cyber infrastructure, right? So the top three countries that are rated highest in their cybersecurity infrastructure are the US, UK, and Israel. So I was looking at these three countries when I was applying back then, UK only had an OPT of 4 months, so that was out of the question. Israel had a language issue, so that left me with the US. So that is how I decided I wanted to go to the US. And the education there itself, not only is their cyber infrastructure better, their education is also miles ahead in terms of cybersecurity in what we have to offer in India. So that is why I decided to go abroad to the US specifically and to a master's degree. And my long term goal, so I backtrack, basically my long term goal is that I don't want to be permanently in the US. Like I want to come back here, and then because we're not there yet in terms of our cyber infrastructure, I want to do that for over here for our country. But the thing is that I don't have the knowledge and the skills right now, and the US is where I can get those skills. So that is why in the short term the opportunities are there to learn, and in the long term when I come back, like the entire all of my goals lined up exactly with the master's program in the US. So to sum it up, I think you just need to decide what motivates you, and what are your long term and short term goals, and see if that aligns with a master's degree and that aligns with the US.
Uh-huh. That's great. That's interesting to hear your views. Would you like to add anything as to what really motivated you to pursue a PhD degree in the US?
Yes, sure. So for me, PhD program, I wanted a PhD program which offered courses and at the same time research as well. I did my master's from Europe in Netherlands at TU Delft, and most of the PhD programs in Europe involve a 4-year research degree where you don't get to study courses a lot, and basically you jump into the project at the very instant you join. My area of interest was soft matter, and I didn't have a very deep background in it. So I wanted a program where I can take up courses in that field, get to learn more about it, and then pursue my research. US PhD programs are usually framed in such a way that you can always build your information through the courses, and then you can start with research. So for me, I wanted a course plus research as my PhD program, and US was one of the places that offered it.
With Shekhar, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I would like to just add is like especially thinking from a PhD program, like what was the most important factor for me was the area of the research. So because as we are like students in different programs, we are like learning a lot of different topics in your core subject, and but as you get into more into research, you are like entirely focused on one of the core programs. So to understand the if one is able to exactly understand the application of that research, it's better, like it motivates you to go into depth because it's a long term program. Like I would only advise to people who have joined here is like if you're thinking about PhD, you should be very clear what is motivating you for that research whenever you're trying to decide, because you won't have a lot of opportunities during the course that you can like jump from one of the research areas. Every college in the US provides that opportunity for you to excel and grow, but it always pushes you back in your race to get and complete your course if you keep on switching your area of interest. So it's really important. And the more you research on this, and as other panelists talked about here, for me it was more about what kind of research different professors are involved in different institutes all across the US, and what my research areas in synergy with in which of the institutes. That was one of the more key important factors for me. What kind of research is obviously going on. You will find you need to understand the objective of the colleges as well. Like a lot of colleges based in out of California are more focused on like job opportunities rather than research areas.
Yeah.
A lot of them, not to name any, but not even have a PhD program. So you should be very clear in what you want to do. Until and unless that is clear to you, it will be very, very difficult for any college to help you to grow. That's it.
Thank you so much. That was excellent points coming from you as to what motivated you people to choose US as your destination. We'll come to point second of the agenda, which is very, very important, and which is shortlisting of universities. Normally, students come to us, and with thousands of universities, more than 4,000 plus US universities, how do we start shortlisting the universities? What are the important parameters that have to be kept in mind before we start shortlisting universities? How important is the location? How important is the type of the university? There's so many questions which individuals have, but we would like to listen from you as to what were you really looking for when you were shortlisting universities. I think Apurva, we will start with you. If you can just share your important parameters. And I would also like to ask you, while you were shortlisting University of Southern California, was the brand really important to you? I mean, were you really looking for rankings, brandings? Please throw some light on it.
Yeah, for me, I was actually like I focused uh, primarily on the curriculum, what subjects that particular program had to offer. For example, there were a lot of universities who were offering subjects that I already had studied in my bachelor's degree in computer science. So I really don't want to waste those particular courses which I had already done. So I was specifically looking at the curriculums of each program which I was going to pursue. So, well, there were universities who had a very beautifully integrated curriculum, which I wanted to go for. So, I chose my universities, obviously, one based on the curriculum they were offering, and then the other factor for me was definitely the cost. So the tuition fee, the living expense at that particular city, that is another major point that you need to keep in mind while you're shortlisting your universities. So ranking actually came later for me. So then I will say the third point that I focused on was whether the that particular program is STEM certified or not. Basically, the STEM actually gives you certain extra months to pursue your OPT over there. So yeah, I shortlisted the universities on this factor as well. Then the fourth one was ranking. Yeah, that is I mean, believe it or not, students do keep that in mind while shortlisting the universities. In fact, but the main point is that shouldn't be your first factor to first parameter to shortlist it. First parameter should always be the course that you're going for, the program that you're going for, the curriculum that they offer, and the OPT and the CPT criteria over there. So that is very important, and definitely the cost.
Okay. Okay, Apurva. Thank you. Yug, I would like to ask you, since you are going for a PhD program, what are some of the extra tips you would like to give to the students who I'm sure are participants? Many of them are planning to go for their PhD programs. So if you can throw some lights, how important was it to interact with the faculty and departments while you were shortlisting the universities? And what points should the prospective students really keep in mind?
Sure. So at this point, I would like to emphasize that selection criteria for colleges for masters and for PhD is quite different. So I did my bachelor's, then I did my master's. And after my master's, I took a year off where I did a research fellowship. And after my master's and my fellowship, I built up some research experience. And it's very important that when you're going for a PhD admission, when you're choosing universities for PhD, that you take your research experience into account. because the university shortlisting comes from the papers you read regularly while doing that research. So, for example, when I was doing my area of research that I'm interested in is soft matter, and that was my area of research during my master's thesis, and also during my fellowship, I worked in the same area. So, in that period of a year and almost 9 months, so let's just round to 2 years, I read so many papers and I could identify which universities were actively pursuing research in that area.
Mhm.
That was my first step to shortlisting universities. The second step is that once you have identified, so for me, I identified 20 universities who were really actively pursuing research in my area of interest.
Mhm.
Then I started identifying the authors, who are basically the professors, the research groups who are publishing those papers. And it is at that point that you should start emailing them individually, and you should introduce yourself, tell them a little bit about your background, tell them what you're really interested in and why their group can help you in achieving your goals, research goals. And then you wait and you see which ones reply, and at the same time you can also ask them if they have openings, are they accepting students or not, especially international students, because international students are the expenses for an international student is more than that for an American student. So I had 15, 20 universities. I sent emails to all the professors and I received replies from few of them. So when I say few of them, I received reply from only 3 or 4 of them. But when you receive a reply, and all my replies were positive, so I emailed Cornell University, I emailed University of Massachusetts Amherst, and I emailed NC State University. Basically, there were more, but these three replied, and the professors were positive. They said that we like your profile and we encourage you to. At the end, I applied to NC State only. I didn't apply to the other two, and I got in. So I would emphasize that when you shortlist your universities, don't, for PhD especially, don't go for rankings. Rely on the research experience that you've gained. It could be that you've only done bachelor's, so whatever experience you gained during your bachelor's. If you've done masters, then whatever experience you've gained in bachelor's and masters. And if you have been working in research sector, could be corporate, could be an educational institution. So build your list based on what you have read. Don't go to websites and just see their rankings and say, okay, top 50, I'm applying to those top 50. Don't do that. So that was my method of shortlisting universities. And I'll just point one thing out. When you email the professors, don't email a generic email because they get thousands of those. Tell them specifically what you are interested in and also how their group can help you. So make it a very personalized email for them. And when they reply, you'll know which universities you have chances of getting in also. So that was my technique.
Yeah, that is a very, very, very good point. Um, rankings can sometimes be very misleading. Let me tell you, they can. You can. I always tell the students you can refer to the rankings when you're starting the process, but your final decision to go to a university should not be based on the rankings. So that is very, very important. There is no agency in the US which ranks these universities. There's no central body in the US. These rankings are done privately, and not a must that all the universities participate in these rankings. So it is very, very important. That's an excellent point, and I definitely agree with you. On networking with the universities, how important is it to not be generic uh, in your communications with the universities.
Yes, that's
Uh,
very important.
yeah, yeah, and your email IDs also should be very, very bang on. It's sometimes students. I mean, I know undergraduate students specifically, they have very funny email IDs, and at times we tell them that you have to be serious. I mean. Just any email ID will not, it can go into spam, and they may not want to even open your email IDs if it is not from a proper account. Pranav, if you can quickly tell some of the resources that were helpful to you while you were shortlisting the universities.
Yeah, sure. So Rupali made a good point earlier that you got 4,000 universities. How do you decide where to start? So I think rankings and all of this stuff give you a place to start, and that's all. That shouldn't be the be all end all. Okay, so in case of, I can speak for cybersecurity. One thing that is different is we don't have rankings, but then there is accreditation. So the National Security Agency, or the NSA, establishes centers of academic excellence in universities, okay, which carry out research and all other programs into the cybersecurity field. uh, for these universities. If you could just go to the NSA website, you can list down by state all the universities that are accredited by the government. So that gives you a starting point. Okay, and once
That's very important. Yes, that's the
exactly,
most important point.
yeah.
The accreditation.
Yes, and once you have a starting point, then you can go on to the individual universities, look at the courses that they are offering. Trust me, there are some big name universities out there that are accredited, but if you go to the course, you realize that the course is not that good. Okay, so you have to put in some effort, go to each and every college or university website, look up the courses that they're offering, what it will be taught, how useful it will be, and you have to shortlist on basis of that. So that was my method. I started with accreditation, narrowed down to the universities. I had a lot of universities, and then even based on your own profile, you gotta decide if you want to apply to that university, if it will be feasible. Because MIT has a great program, but then we all know how slim our chances are into getting there. So yeah, these factors you gotta keep in mind while you're shortlisting universities. Over to you, Rupali.
Yeah, I think there's some network issue that Rupali's in. So by the time she joins, like I'll only add a few points. Most of us like have covered the very like a lot of good ideas about this, and as you and like Pranav and even Apurva was covering a lot of different concerns. The only case with me, what is different is like I have like as you was
Yes,
talking about,
Rupali.
even after if you join after your masters or even after your bachelors. So particularly in my case, like I have done my bachelor's, then I went into
हाँ
professional experiences
ठीक है
in a IT in a I'm a computer science student, so I went into a IT professional company and working out there. So
ठीक
but
है मैं करती हूँ
any moment in your
हाँ
life like you will want to reflect back and go back into your studies, you really need to find out those opportunities in your company wherever you are working, which can go into the synergy of the research interest. Because whenever you are like showing any university anywhere, like you are a research candidate, you need to show your mindset as well. And it's very difficult to understand how they will judge you. Even different universities have different criteria of judgment. So, in basically overall, you're trying to emphasize that you have a research mindset. Wherever, anywhere in your whatever your subject is, you are given a set of problems. Even if you don't know, you are ready to go back into your basic, give that time, and try to innovate something. Obviously, most of the times you will fail, or somebody out there has already done before it, right? You might, but that mindset and how you showcase that in your profile is really important. At times, we tend to forget that there are a lot of opportunities within your company through a different kind of like filing your patents. Maybe in a company you don't get to write a lot of technical papers and other stuff, but you get to file your patents, you get to file your intellectual properties within the company. And that is very crucial factor for my profile, which like helped me getting into and showing into my research mindsets in my area of interest.
Thank you so much, Shekhar. They were the great points that you have just mentioned for the prospective students. The next point that I would like to ask all of you is, how did you all prepare for the test requirements? So there are obviously the standardized tests that you all must have taken to get the admissions at the US universities. So if you can just say something about your preparation, did you go to any coaching classes, or there were attempts that you had to take because you wanted some, the score that you always desired for? So if we can start with Apurva.
Sure. So for me, basically, actually giving the tests, you need to know that what exactly GRE, GMAT, these tests have, like the syllabus. If you feel that you have a good hold over quant and verbal, so in fact, I feel most of the Indians have a good hold over quant, so they score a very good score in quant in comparison to verbal. So yeah, there are options like for example, uh, for coaching basically. So I took coaching from Jamboree, and so I was and in fact they have different programs, so you need to keep the timeline in mind as well. So when you want to start applying, so a good time to take GRE, TOEFL, these exams, the standardized tests are somewhere around September, October. So it gives you a lot of time to then devote to your application, because after that you need to prepare your application. So September, October is a good time that you give, like prepare for GRE, TOEFL, and give your exam around those dates. So yeah, that. And in fact, about a good score, I have researched a lot on this part, which is a good score for what, for which particular university you need which score. So if you're having a score above 320, it's like a very very safe score. You probably would not get rejected because of your score. So that's the main point if I talk about masters. So because your application in totality counts. So if you have a score above 320, it's a safe score. But if it's below, you don't have to worry about that as well. But yeah, a good score, I'll say it's 320, and anything above 310 is good.
Yeah, I completely agree with the score thing that you said, because various universities will have various requirements. Their acceptance rate also differs, so we need to check all of that, which matters when you are actually looking at certain scores to achieve. Right, Pranav, if you can add something to that.
Yeah, sure. So I did not go to any coaching classes. I got a decent score, so I can tell you that it's doable. If you put in the effort, that is. I took around 3 months to prepare for my GR in its entirety, start to finish. And those 3 months, like I did only GRE, cut out all distractions, GRE, GRE, GRE. That's all I did. There are a lot of resources available online. So yeah, I mean, but if you still feel that you need an instructor to guide you through the process, there's absolutely no problem with going with that option as well. But I can tell you that it can be done by yourself. So that was covering your uh, your GRE. I did it by myself. About timelines, if I may add, September, October is a good time to give your GRE, considering you're going to crack your GRE in your first attempt. So I gave my GRE on the 6th of August. Fortunately, I got a decent score, but the reason I usually tell people is that get done with your GRE in the month of August is that if you botch up your first attempt and you want to go for a second attempt, if you have your first attempt in October itself or September itself, it'll be right, or like it'll be very close. So if you do your first attempt in August, you have time to prepare for a second attempt and give that second attempt in September or in October, whatever time it may take. So I believe that a good time is to take it in around in August, your first attempt. If you do well on your first attempt, that's great. You can spend more time shortlisting, researching your university. But if you do have to go for your second attempt, you have that buffer time for your second attempt as well. Yeah, that's about standardized tests.
Right. So we got both the views: Apurva, who has gone through a professional coaching for the test prep, and Pranav, who has done on his own. So, Shekhar and Yug, if you can turn by turn, I will start with Shekhar. So, Shekhar, what's your views on this?
Yeah. So see like it how it works for you, like as like Pranav clearly said, like there's no work, like there's no perfect way, like you have to identify what works for you. So especially for me, like I was already working a job, so getting into a coaching facility was not an option. Like I dehydrated after that day of my work itself. So for me, it was more of like a self-motivating and online stuff, which helped me, and like especially for me because I was like getting back to my books, so it took a lot of time. Like if you're working, your mindset completely changes. So to get back into that, like as Apurva was saying, we are good at like being Indians or Asians, like we're good at quant. That is all good, but if you are out of practice, it's of no use. So that how it was working for me. Very basic mathematical theorems. It was out of my mind. So I need to give a lot of time for that, especially in my case. And for the vocabs, what I did was, which helped me was, I had this flashcards written down, and I like used to write down all those vocabs on those flashcards, and like not learn it by heart like a parrot, but yeah, keep on revisiting it whenever I had this free time, like so that it keeps. I was not speaking English a lot, so that I will be using those words. Obviously, I don't think that a lot of many participants will be using all those words, which will be they will be answering in their exam. So you need to just go back and see, yeah, you get this word or not. So those flashcards helped me in my vocab to some extent, I would say, yeah. And on the con, yeah, I had to give a lot of time because I was out of my books for a long time. The only reason, so maths need a lot of practice, definitely, because you need to identify what is this, like if we used to like drill down in like 10th and 12th, what is your scoring area, which will help you to like push forward that percentage. Especially this, I feel that is how it works here. If you know, okay, you're good in vocab, cool, this is going to take your score up. And other things, what we were referring to about decent score, I see this as an entire package. I would not say like, if you are like somehow you were not able to score a lot of, like 320 is a big mark, I would say. No offense to anybody, but it's a big mark, right? So, but I used to see this as a complete package. What universities are there looking for are a good score, but the package involves is your statement of purpose, which we'll be also covering later in this meeting. The statement of purpose, resume, and how you present yourself. It's a collective package, and score is a very important factor, no doubt. Not going back on that, but I'm just trying to say, because I was not able to score three. Let's be honest here, I was not able to, but I realized this. I have to like get this package, which will have this my statement of purpose, my intellectual properties, which I can show my mindset of research, and that helped me. So don't get disheartened if you like, if
Right.
you
Agree. Agree.
go big and like 320 and try to find out what is your strengths, which you can like basically sell. That is one way of putting it. You have to sell yourself.
Exactly. Very true. Thanks, Shekhar. Your views on this?
Actually, Krit Shekhar covered everything. So it is about the full package, and especially when you are applying for a PhD program, you are judged on the basis of how potentially well you will be able to do research. Test scores are obviously important. None of the university websites will say that we give more emphasis to the GRE scores, TOEFL scores. From what I read, there's a mark on TOEFL, they say 90 and above is fine. There's nothing much for GRE. And if you think logically also, for a PhD program, professors want someone who can prove that they have done research in past and they're capable of doing it well in the future, too. So GRE scores, for a PhD, I don't think there's too much emphasis on it. SOP and LORs definitely are much more important there. Yeah, that's all actually.
In fact, I'd like to add, even I didn't score above 320, but like while preparing, and this was all in my mind that having it above a certain score, it's like safe. Then you don't get apprehensive on that part. That okay, this particular area might take
Yeah,
down my
you've done
application,
good.
but
Yeah, I totally I don't disagree. I don't disagree
no,
with.
I in fact agree with you guys because I also scored below. SOP is actually a game changer.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. The next point on the agenda is about the funding. So I would like to ask that when you were planning for your studies, right, what were the research that you did for your fundings? Or you must have talked with your parents. There must be a discussion happening there. So can you say something about that particular part? So I think we'll start with Apurva again.
So for funding, so first thing you need to keep in mind is the amount of money that it would take before you actually start applying, and like you have applied, and then after you get admits and then the tuition and everything. So before is actually like if you're taking coaching, that funds, then your application costs, everything. If I totaled it up, it actually costs around some 70 to 80,000. If you So I applied. Some of the universities are very expensive. They have a high application fee. So in totality, I applied to some 12, 10 to 12 universities. So yeah, that will cost around 80 to like 70 to 80 thousand before you actually apply and get your admits and everything. And after that, that is actually very important. So you need to keep in mind that studying at US for masters or any in fact, not, I'll not speak for PhD because that's funded, but for masters it's like a huge cost. It also depends on which university you're going to. So, like I said, while you're shortlisting university, this is a very important point to keep in mind: the tuition cost and the living expense over there. So, some cities are actually very expensive to live. New York, Boston, these are expensive cities to live. So, that cost needs to be kept in mind. And applying for education loans is actually a very good facility that we have, and we should take full advantage of it. So yeah, it actually accumulates the tuition fee. Is the major part that you'll be spending on your this whole masters or the whole years. Like for masters, it's 2 years. So yeah, you should actually keep that in mind, and according to that, shortlist your universities, because there are universities who will provide you scholarships whose tuition fees are also not very high. Like if I talk about University of Rochester, it has a beautifully designed masters in data science, and the costs are also very like if you compare it to other universities, it's very good. And yeah, so in fact for me that was my dream university.
Right. So you said something about scholarships. So I think Yug has got some funding to pursue his PhD from the university. So Yug, was that something that you were looking forward to, or was that one of the criteria that you fixed for yourself when you were applying and researching universities, to pursue your PhD in the US?
Most definitely. I would advise everyone who is aiming for a PhD to look for programs that support you. They provide you a good stipend so that you can live comfortably in the city. They also pay for your tuition fees and health insurance. So these three are the major source of expenses for any student. It is not a good idea to pursue PhD on your own budget because it's a long degree and it takes time. So it's better to go to a university that supports you. And for STEM, I don't think there are many universities that would not support you. Most US universities give you funding. So definitely that should be kept in mind. And that definitely that was one of my criteria. I wanted to apply only to to those universities that would support a PhD student.
Right. So, Shekhar, we would like to hear from you about how did you plan when you were looking
Yeah.
forward to
So,
plan out
like
your
I'm a
studies in
person
this?
who like, yeah, so I am a person who like hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So I was like applying for PhD programs as well and for master's program as well. And I was applying for master's programs, though I was like not very interested in it as if I compare to a PhD program, is because a lot of universities also give you an opportunity where you can like change your course after a few semesters. So I was thinking maybe like, okay, even if I have to pay 1 semester or 2 semester fees, and then I can, based on my marks or on my research work out the university, I'll be able to change my course. But as you was talking about, looking at those universities will be providing, like I have this notion that I have, which like this COVID situation, like a very unprecedented situation, which like have new insights for me. So I have this notion that every PhD student is funded. That what I have been seeing all throughout my year, right? But this year, like after I came like across a few PhD students, due to just because of the COVID and these unprecedented circumstances, they were not fully funded. Like there is 20 hours per week or a 10 hours per week. So they call it, I think, 0.5 FTE or 0.25 FTE, something like that. So based on this, your tuition fees or the insurances are covered. So then what happens is then there are a lot of other opportunities on campus, on the university itself, like greater jobs, which are also open for master students and PhD students both. Even in the undergrad courses as well, the universities from US provides the opportunity of TA. So you have an undergrad TA. But for those, the tuition fees won't be covered, but you will get some amount of money through which you can like have your living expenses cut down. And as when was thinking about like on the master's program, so what I did is I like searched a lot of like these nationalized and private bank loans, as Apurva was referring to, because that is the only one way to go. Like if you don't, somehow you were not able to get that funding. So I would suggest like to you, like if you're trying to apply for a PhD, but you be aware of your worst case scenario, where you could land, and what are those opportunities which at that point can help you to get back into a TA ship or a RA fellowship. And as also you was talking about, when you start interacting with professors and like showcase your interest, you can again go back and follow up on them saying, yeah, I have applied in your college, I have even been admitted. Because a lot of those senior colleges are panelists when they decide on the candidates. So, and then when you can refer back to them, like, yeah, I've been admitted to a PhD program, you have any RH fellowship for me or not? So that is how you're like breaking the ice as well. You're networking, as a lot of people refer to quote unquote networking. Your networking starts as well. And it also opens up the opportunity of getting a RA fellowship, which is better than a TA. I would say also as your interest, like my interest was in after, as you was talking about how what you want to do after your courses. I'm more focused of getting into academics. So I was personally looking more into for a TA ship, such that I was able to enhance my teaching experience and all that. So it also, so I was just to sum up, whatever your interests are, there are a lot of opportunities available. You have to give that effort. If you like for the experience of it, you want to waiter, like be a waiter and serve tables, that is also available. It's all what you want to do for the sake of experiences or for the sake of money. You need to give that effort and find out.
Perfect. I'm back, guys. Thank you so much, Janet, for holding the fort. Uh, this is technology. There was no power, and I was not really able to log in from any of the other email accounts. So sorry for that. If you can just give me a brief as to which point were we discussing, Janet, we can move further.
Yes, Rupali?
Should we come to the next point? I mean, come to
Yes,
the...
yes. I think Pranav is still pending with his views. So you can please ask Pranav to just say something about how did he manage the funding and, how did he research about it?
Sure, Pranav, if you want to go, and then we'll because putting together a stellar application, that is, I think we have to have some time, because it's very important. The components of the applications are really, really important. But if quickly you can just speak about the funding thing, we'll go to that point then.
Right. So I wouldn't dwell much on funding because others have covered it. And frankly, everyone's situation is different. So assess your own situation, how deep your pockets are, and how you can fund. The only thing I want to mention here is that one thing, that there are external education higher studies trusts also, so look at that. For example, JN Tata Endowment Fund is one of the biggest ones that offers these are technically loans only, but they are zero interest loans. And there are also some scholarships out there, like the Fulbright scholarship and all of that. So I got the information for all of this from my Education USA advisor. So you can get in touch with these guys. And Rupali, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that information is also available on the USIF website. So if you
Yes, we
visit the
have that.
website,
Yeah.
then you can get this information. Keep that in mind. Student loans are not the only option. There are other options as well, like scholarships and these zero interest loans, all of that. Yeah, that's all.
Yes. Okay. So we'll quickly move to the next point, which is a very, very important point, and that plays a very important role, because you have to work on your applications. You need to be organized. You need to really have your timelines in place. and do a lot of planning. So the first point is in your applications, which is the most, I mean, it is important. It is very, very important. And students do come to us sometimes in a very panic mode that how much time will it take to write my essays? When should I start writing my essays? What are the timelines? What should I be writing in my essay? So with that, I think we'll start with Apurva. If you can just share some tips on writing your statement of purpose. How much time did you take, and the timelines, and some important tips for the students.
Yes. So I think even before starting for the essay, you should know that, for example, I'll consider one case that when a student has like a moderate GRE and a low GPA, so then his or her SOP should be very, very powerful. Because if you have a low GPA, it should your application in totality should be 100%. So for that, you need to have in mind that you should have certain work experiences or research experiences so that you can write a, like, you have a good content for your SOP first. So for writing SOP, you need a good amount of time, like I'll say a month. So I put in a whole month for actually phrasing, rephrasing the whole SOP. At least it took 50 iterations for me to finally come to an SOP, which I decided to go with. In fact, for so what you need to do is you need to have uh, a final SOP with you. Like I said, your research work, your work experience, they should be exhibited in a very elegant way. And you might if you have a good hold over English language, you definitely should go on writing it for yourself. But you might need some help, definitely some perspective on your SOP when you're writing it. So you need to have few people around you who can read your SOP and help you with those 50 or 100 iterations if you need. That is important. In fact, if I would like to add, even after you end up like 1 month of preparing that SOP, even after that, you need to make a lot of changes during your, actually when you're like uploading the SOP on your application, the final one which you want to upload to a particular university. So every university has a certain word limit for the SOP. Some have 2000, some have even less, some have don't really have, they say that 3 pages is good. But on average, if your SOP is of 1 or 2 page, that's good. And if you're able to like include and encapsulate everything that your good experiences that you have, please focus on that. In fact, one more important point is when you are writing your SOP, try to highlight the points that are more relevant to your program. So for example, at school, if you have had some extracurricular that's not very important, that you can combine all these curriculum extracurricular activities in, like, at the end of the SOP somewhere, in just 2 to 3 lines. But more focus should be on the work experience, research works, and whatever you have, the projects, freelancing projects, whatever you have done on that is relevant to your program. For example, in my case, it was data science. So I elaborated more on my college projects that were on data analysis or artificial intelligence or any related field. So you need to put more focus on those points when you're writing your SOP. And believe me, SOP can be it is a game changer. So if you have a moderate GPA, sorry, a low GPA and a moderate GRE score, you need to work very hard on your SOP, and it's going to do wonders for you.
Yeah, I just like to add here with my so many years of experience that the students really need to know the difference between your CV and your statement of purpose. Your CV is different, your statement of purpose is completely different. The other point I would also like to add here, what Apurva was saying, you can have 2 or 3 people reading your essay. I mean, 2 to 3 people is actually like too many people, in the sense everyone is different, everyone has a different style of writing and style of thinking. So You can definitely share your essay with your seniors, with your professors if you want, but the Education USA will also help you in that. And we will just discuss it as to this is one of the services which we really provide to the students. And we have some excellent sessions which we want students to attend before they start even writing their essays. And these sessions will really help them draft an excellent SOP. Pranav, would you like to add a few things here?
Yeah, sure. So I agree with what Apurva said. Like SOP is make it or break it for your application. So a lot of us have like a writer's block. Where do I begin? How do I start writing my SOP? So the approach that I used was that remember that every university is looking to answer a few questions, and you have to make sure that your SOP answers those questions. Some of those are like why this program, why this university, and why you. Okay, these are the three basic questions that your essay should answer. So that is what I did. I put down those questions and I just wrote the answers to those. I didn't even write an essay. I just wrote the answers to those questions. And then I went back with my advisor and I was like, "Look, these are the questions that I want my essay to answer. Now we'll take these answers and we'll put them in a cohesive essay so that there's proper flow between these answers." And that's how we did our SOPs. The other thing that I want to stress is, guys, please write your own SOPs. I know that there are some services out there that will write your SOPs for you, will leave a blank paragraph in the between and say, "यहाँ पे university specific लिख देना, write something university specific over here." Do not do that. The universities know that these practices exist. They know what generic templates are. So please write your own SOPs, get it reviewed absolutely, but don't take too many opinions, because too many opinions is going to botch up your entire SOP, right? So take trusted opinions, but don't take too many opinions. Those are the points that I want to make about my essays.
Those are very good points, Pranav. And I would also like to add here again an important tip that when you write why this university, and if you're applying to 10 universities, and if you are lazy to change your essays, your essay can make a it can create a problem for you, because if you're applying to University A and you are writing the reason for going to University B in that essay, then it is it won't make the admissions committee person happy reading that essay. So you have to be very careful.
Absolutely, Rupal. So I applied to some 11 universities. I had 22 documents, just SOPs.
Exactly. Yeah.
11 documents were specifically question answers that I talked about, and the other 11 were taking these answers and putting them in an essay. So I wrote different essays for each and every university, and I would recommend everyone to do that.
Perfect. Krit Shekhar, quickly, if you can just tell for the students who are planning to go for their PhD programs, important points on writing your research paper, and quickly, we have already discussed the networking thing, but in case you want to add one point on the networking with department and faculty, we have to be quick enough, because we have a lot of questions coming in, and we would like to answer all those questions also. Yeah.
So basically, like everybody covered the like the basic important factors, like what we need to consider about like preparing any document, and like whatever, like it would be a statement of purpose, a resume, or even in your own research papers that you eventually be writing in future. So for me, the most important thing is like it should be a professional document. It should not look like it's a college project. Like at times what happens is we tend to miss on a lot of very small things which gives out a presentation that we are not professional, and being professional is a very important factor, I believe. So like just having your essay justified, like are you using the real estate of that page very well or not? These are the few important. The content is really important, especially when it comes to SOP. It's a balance between your personal and your technical statements, right? You need to have, when especially when you're talking about your PhD and research interests, you need to show from your own personal experiences how are you able to connect and how you're able to do that. And that is what Pranav was talking about, why this university and other stuff. It has to come down from your own personal interest, and that is a personal part. And especially when you are like, also like, I did refer to a few of the technical papers as well, and like I read those technical papers. And when you see a technical paper, you like, the first thing that will come into your mind is like, it's really nicely written. Even if you don't read any content, it's like very well arranged and all that stuff. And then you start reading it, and then you get that flow. So the flow of the content is also really important. Keeping in notion that the document that you're presenting is very well written, the content and the professional outlook. It should not have any funky or any kind of stuff which like pulls out of all the professionalism. Because as Rupali was talking about, a small mistake, like Pranav had these different versions of the document, and if by mistake if you submit like a college of USC and submit into like Georgia Tech, and if they see, okay, very well written, but you are praising like some other universities, obviously you should not have this expectation that they're gonna like, you're gonna get away with this mistake, because this is only showing you're not professional. You're like missing on a few very important. Everybody knows they have a template. You are like submitting it in multiple places, but having these small instances in your mind, keeping all those, like thinking about the mistakes that you can do, can very well like equip you to have a very good document. Yeah.
Great. Okay, we'll move. Those were some very important points, and I'm sure all the participants who are attending it will definitely keep these points in mind before they start working on their essays. The next is the letter of recommendations. Now, again, there's a lot of panic among students. How do I get my letter of recommendations? How much time will it take? And well, I mean, it's important that the students, they do have prior appointments with their recommenders. They start thinking about their recommendations. Um, if you can just throw some light on how much time did you actually take to get your recommendation letters, and how important was to meet your recommender, and what did you discuss with your recommender when you were asking him to give you a recommendation?
Sure. So I had 3 recommenders, which is quite standard with the US admissions process. One was my professor from bachelor's, one was my supervisor from master's, and one was my IIT fellowship supervisor. So first thing to make sure is that people you are asking for recommendation from should know you very well, should know your work very well, because only then they'll be able to give some productive recommendation. If they don't know you, if it's someone you just attended 2 classes with, it won't work. Second point to emphasize is be polite and be very grateful that there's somebody who is writing a recommendation for you. Do not order them. Do not think that you can get it because you are applying. That's not the case. Be always polite. And third thing is, yes, discussion is very important. So all 3 of my recommenders knew very well. I applied for fall, so my admissions process started in August or September. They all knew that I'll be applying for PhD in January itself. So they knew that. And I started reminding them from, I think my first submission was in November. And I started reminding them from 6 weeks before. That's a standard. Start telling them that 6 weeks later, my application process will start. And they are very busy. Every professor is busy, and many students will be asking them. So keep on reminding them. And yeah, actually, that's it. That would be the important point. Be grateful and give them time. At least 6 or 8 weeks is a good time. And approach those who know your work. Otherwise, the recommendation is of no use.
Yeah, that's an important point. And do thank you for your professors once you get your LORs. That's a very important thing to keep in mind. Your academic transcripts, they are also equally important. You need to get your transcripts from your respective colleges, universities, and they need to sign, they need to be attested, they need to be attested and sealed and then sent to the universities. Many a times the universities want the universities directly to send their academic transcripts to them. So that is also an important component of your applications. And I'm sure all 4 of you went through your academic transcripts. requesting your college. The only thing is you need to really give them time, because these the administration involved in this, they sometimes take time to take out your individual mark sheets, and even if it is a consolidated mark sheets, but the admin procedure takes time. So have time and organize the entire process. Those were very, very important points. And uh,
Just to add here, Rupali, what you were talking about the letter of recommendation, I would also suggest that when you are talking about to your professor about these, it's better like if you have your statement of purpose and resume prepared, you can like forward that to them as well to have a look, such that they are like well aware what are your area of interest and how you're like what is your CV is all about. Like because somebody from your undergrad like might have taught you a long back, right? Though they might have a good experience with you, good memory of you, and that is why they're ready to recommend you. So, but they should also be aware like how you have grown as an engineer in all throughout those years.
yeah,
Like talking about from my own personal experience as a computer engineer, so I need to show that as well that this is not about like these new things I have learned. So they also get that confidence when they are recommending you.
yeah,
And the other thing that I would like to like talk about, especially like when I was applying in different colleges, I have noticed that a lot of colleges ask you very specific grades to your specific course subjects, especially in, like what I saw in computer science, like data structures, algorithms, system programming. All these they will definitely ask you those grades because these are the few core subjects of your program. So
mhm,
what would be better is like maybe you can refer back to your undergrad college and ask those professors who taught you those subjects if you have good grades in those subjects. So what is happening is your transcript is also showing you that yeah, you have good grades in those particularly core subjects. All these could help you is like after you have been admitted, most probably you won't get those deficiencies because you have to spend some extra time to. What will then colleges will do is based on your transcripts, they will allot some deficiency if they find that you need to like go through a few more exams. So try to focus from that angle as well.
yeah. These points are so interesting and excellent tips. The session can go on and on for hours, I tell you, but then we have to respect the time. And I'm so thankful to all of you that you have also taken out time from your busy schedules and you are with us. But we will just move to the next point, which is managing your final admission outcomes. Um, Basically, it is important that once you receive you receive admissions, which is the university, which is your dream school where you have to finally go to. So what are the points? It's even before you make a final decision, how important it is to look at the alumni network, how important is it to look at the placements, the networking, scholarships. So quickly, we will just go to Yuk, if you can start with it. But I mean, I will take next 5 minutes. We have just another 5 minutes, and then we will start the question answers.
Okay, sure. So first of all, if you're getting multiple admits, congratulations. That's a great place to be in. Um, Once I received my admit, it was important for me to convey to my professor, who is an expert in the area, that I've got admission to NC State, and this is the professor I would like to work with. Do you know him by reputation? And he knew both the university and the research groups that I was interested in. And he said, it's a wonderful university and you can go there. So that was number one for me. How my professor, who is already an expert in the field, think, what does he think about my university? Second is for you to connect actively to the alumni of the university and the current PhD students and ask them two things. One is, how is the group environment and how is the department? Group environment is important because for PhD, you'll be spending 5 years, hopefully working in that group. So you need to know if it's a positive and supportive environment. And as far as department is concerned, you should ask them if they have, if apart from your degree, do they have some auxiliary programs that can help you gain some career skills or help you connect with people in America itself. If you're interested in academia or if you're interested in corporate career, can you get connected with them through that university? And what kind of support do they offer when it comes to your job? Because that's the end goal of the whole of the degree program. So yes, these two were the things. So network with alumni and the current PhD students, and you can always talk to your professors who I assume would already know the field very well to also assess whether the university you've received an admit from is good enough for you.
Pranav, you'd like to add quickly?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So if you have multiple admins, don't get complacent. This is the final mile, and you can actually screw up here as well because I was about to. So what I'd say is I connected via LinkedIn to most of the alumni. So I was about to go to a different university altogether because their course was great. They had great marketing and all of that. But when I actually went on LinkedIn and looked at alumni profiles, their alumni had not done that great. Then I looked at Northeastern and they didn't have that much marketing and all that. And their course was still great, but the alumni had done fantastic in their careers. So I reached out to the alumni, asked a lot of questions. I also asked them their opinions of the competing university, like what do you think of that university instead? And then when I finally saw a trend that okay, a lot of people are saying good things about this particular thing, a lot of people are saying the same thing, then you can probably believe. Like the key is to reach out to alumni, see how they've done in their own careers, and to ask them questions, their own experience at the university.
Perfect. I think we, due to constraint of time, we have to move further. And before we start with the question answer session, let me tell all the participants who are there today for this session that this is only the first session of our application camp, the graduate application camp series, and we have a lineup of programs in the coming month. Um, yeah, so that's in front of your screens. This is so please mark your calendars. The next session is on September 3rd. If you are a prospective MBA student, you can always attend the session on September 3rd. And likewise, we have the programs lined up till September 29th. So make sure you attend these sessions, and believe me, once you are done with them, you will be so confident and in starting your process and applying to the universities. Can we just quickly come to how can um, we connect with, I mean, what are the services you took from Education USA, Yug and Pranav? How do you, what advice do you give for the prospective students to, with your experience with Education USA?
Can I go first, Yog?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, yeah, sure. So the two reasons that I went with Education USA was first is that they affiliated with the United States government, and the second is that they don't write your applications for you. That was key for me. I wanted to be completely in control of my entire application process, and uh, they will help you review, they will help you apply, but they won't spoon feed you, so you have to put in effort, and I wanted something like that. So yeah, I signed up for their for the membership, and I had a great experience. Like I told you guys earlier, I had 22 different documents. Imagine multiple revisions of that, and my advisor was there the entire time. I could reach out to her anytime, and she was always there to help me out with that. So yeah, I had a great experience.
Great. You, what? How was your experience?
So I joined Education USA after my application process. So once I received my admit, I needed help with someone who can needed help with the documentation. That is the process that comes later. So visa procedures, uh, before departation or before you depart, what things you should keep in mind. And for that, I approached Education USA, and my experience has been great. The advisors have helped me fill out all the forms that are necessary for a visa application. And if I have any doubt in the process regarding my I-20 or regarding the visa process, and especially I would like to point out in this COVID situation where things can get very shaky, and they are shaky, in fact, all the advisors have been very supportive to me. They have replied to me anytime I approached them. And so, yes, my experience has been very great, and I would recommend it to anyone.
I'm glad that you like the you got so much of information from the Education USA offices.
Yes, indeed.
I think we'll go to the question answers, and I'll just request my colleague if we can have the slide of the upcoming sessions once again, so that if the students have to make a note of it, yeah, so that's in front of all the students. You can register for these sessions, and we'll start with the questions. So the first question which we have we've received for you can respond to it, because it's what how different is the PhD application process from the master's application process, and how important are the reviewed publications, if you can answer that. The student is interested in going for a going for a PhD program in public health. So how important are the GRE scores? If you can quickly tell the student, and we will request the student to be in touch with us also. We can connect the student to Yug also in the coming weeks for more information. Yes, Yug.
So the application process would be quite similar for a PhD and master's, but the way you write your SOP, what is expected from you, what is expected from your LORs, what they're looking for in this CV is quite different when you apply for a master's, when you apply for a PhD. Remember that at the end, professors will make the decision based on your research potential. Are you able to do research in the future or not? And do you have a legitimate proof for that? You asked about publications. Publications are very important. If you have a publication, it's the ultimate proof of your research potential, because not only does it show that you're capable of writing in a research oriented manner, I would say, in a professional research tone. Second, it tells that you were committed to your work and it produced results that are now publishable and useful for the scientific community. For GRE scores, I mentioned before, GRE scores are not that important. Yes, maintain a base. If you are above 300, I don't know, there's no set bar like 300 above is good, or 310 above is good, or 320 above is good, 330 is above is good. But definitely for a PhD, that it won't count a lot, in my opinion, because if I am someone who has to invest $50,000 on a student, I would and for one purpose and one purpose only, that he has to create new knowledge through research. I would look at all those things that indicate that he has a research potential. So if you have a good publication record, or if you have done good research in a good research group also, that will be much more important.
Yeah, the next question, thank you, Yuk. That was very helpful. Krit Shekhar, the question for you is, how do I find the universities which have research-based PhD programs? If you can quickly share.
So basically, what you need to do is invest a lot of time on Google. There is no other way of answering this. What will happen is, when you like go on browsing those different colleges of your own area of interest, like computer science, what you will see in the faculty, where they display all the faculty information, and slowly you will get into like more or less every professor like maintains their own kind of a resume or a CV, which they like is available on a website which you can browse and like see all those area of like interest of the professor, what actually all the publications the professor is doing, and submitting all throughout the different conferences. So it's like you need to research, and slowly what you will notice is you are like slowly tapping into the information which is like college or the professor centric. So that is what you need to do. You need to give a lot of time into that research. You need to browse their websites a lot. They have everything available on the website. So that I can assure you, you need to like, it's not easy to find. That is true. It's not very well like a big GIFs and all that. It's not mentioned. Click here to do that. You need to spend a lot of time to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a question which was very much expected, and the question is on joining your online classes this semester. With this pandemic around, how are all of you really deciding to join the universities, if you're taking online classes, how is that going to help you? So they are curious to know more about it. And I'm sure Kritshika was just telling me that he's starting with his online classes right today. So I think immediately after the session is over, he has to be on his Arizona time in the sometime soon.
Yeah, today,
So yeah, if,
today my classes will start. Like,
exactly. So if you want to just share your experience, I mean, you are taking your online classes. So what are you, any deferment? Is anybody deferring their admissions? And so just if you can just share your experience on it.
yeah, I've noticed a lot of people like, so what happens is like there's another info for the people like, so after you are like admitted into different colleges, what you will find is a lot of different Facebook, WhatsApp groups dedicated to that particular college. And every student joins that. So I have like also have joined a few of them, and through that I came to know that a lot of people have deferred their admissions, like because of the COVID, understandable, right? So I was not like I had not deferred for a long time, and the thing that motivated me like to go through this online courses and all, it's like for MS student, it's a difficult decision, I would say, because it's a 2 years course, and along with the academics, it's a college experience. Don't Let's not try to make this talk about a lot very focused about technical and all that. It's a college experience. Like you're going back into a college, into a new country, not into a new state, like your undergrads, right? So so you will be missing on a lot of 6 months of college experience, the college life. So taking that decision for a master's student like would be totally different. That is something other panelists could refer to. But for me, when I was thinking about PhD, the break the which the like what how could I phrase it? The one which like was the final blow to my decision was like after I came to know not every applicant is getting sponsored, and that was a really eye opener. I would say this is an opportunity, and nobody knows how this COVID is gonna play. Right? I'm not an economical expert that I would predict. Oh, after 2 years things will be fine and blah blah blah. So I was like looking at very present scenario,
Okay.
and that is how like I have to adjust myself. Everything is new, like what is happening all through the world. So it's just that you need to get into that flow.
It's
And
new for everyone. Nobody knows what is
yeah,
going to happen.
definitely soon, maybe after like maybe in the next sessions, I'll have more info how the experience of getting into that live classes. But I hope for the best.
Pranav, if you can answer this question, or what are the online resources one should look for when they are preparing for the GRE exams?
Oh yeah, sure. So I'll talk about resources in general. I used the Manhattan 5 pound book. If you solve that book through and through, dedicatedly, no cheating, then I think you should be in a very good position. From the knowledge perspective, the GRE is way more than what you know in terms of knowledge. A lot of it depends on strategizing. So you need to know what the GRE contains. There's always a fixed pattern. Like if you take quants, for example, there's always a fixed pattern. The first 7 questions will be those best of two options. The next one will be discrete quant, then there'll be data interpretation. So you need to know how to pace the exam and all of that. So in terms of resources, Magoosh app for your verbal, the 5 pound book for your preparation, and Manhattan in general. I purchased their online tests. Online tests are very important. Also, to all those people who say that online tests are not accurate, trust me, they're very accurate. Like you're gonna score what, like whatever you're getting on your online mock test, you're going to be somewhere in that ballpark. It's not going to be 15 marks or 20 marks difference. So
Yeah.
yeah, practicing a lot of online tests. I used Manhattan exclusively, their YouTube channel, their website. I used their books. So I used Manhattan a lot, and for verbal I went with Magoosh.
Anyone else, if you want to add anything to this question, because resources are important. Actually, Krit Shekhar, from the time you graduated and there was a gap, and many a time students do take gap. If they get a placement back in India, they would like to work, and after a year or so, they would like to apply for their masters. So if this gap comes, any one tip which you think, but how they should be really continuously working on their vocabulary and the font section?
Yeah, so for me, it was like getting back home after the office, and you need to give that extra effort. Like obviously, it's like the more time you like are far from the book, it's I felt it's for more of a mind shift, like from my application oriented mind shift in my office to like getting into those quant theorems and other vocabs. So it's a mind shift. So obviously it's going to be difficult for the few months, but you need to build that tempo, that you need to do that extra effort. And but what the upside of it is, because you are already working in a like a professional environment and learning as you were out from the college, fresh out of the college, and learning all those professional cultures in your company. So it boils down into your personality as well, and it helps you. You will be able to code that projects as well. So that is the upside of it. So the more, so what happened in my case was like I was able to file these intellectual properties within my company, which helped me show my research interest. I was not like my profile as compared to Yug is completely on a different wavelength, right? He's more focused from the very start, from his undergrad to master's fellowship, right? So he has been very focused on one of the topics or the research areas. But for me, from my professional experience, so I took the advantage of those projects, those intellectual properties which I could showcase as. So there you need to find the upside in your profile that I would like to phrase. There's always an upside, and if you still have not able to, there's always you need to like investigate. You like in all the companies, you will find one of the other way which you can showcase your interest in academics.
Perfect.
It will require.
Yog, if you can quickly tell, there's a question, and if you can answer this as to how do I approach my professors for writing the LORs, and how long should the LORs be? And this is a very good question, which every student is curious to know, that professors and the recommenders, they are so busy at times. Normally, they ask and request students if you can give us some pointers, and we can edit them. We can write further in those LORs. So, did you also face the same situation, and how did you deal with it?
Yes, so it will be a very subjective answer, I'm afraid. So whatever work you have done with the professor whom you're asking recommendation from, he or she will be able to comment only on that. So I'll give an example. When I approached my master's supervisor, he had seen my research work, he had seen me present, and he had seen me write a paper with him. So he could comment on my writing skills, on my oral communication skills, and on my research work, like how organized I was. And he had to grade me, so he already had a criteria with him. In that case, it's much more easier for the professor himself or herself to write a recommendation for you. I don't know about the page limits. I don't know what they wrote about me in the first place, so I can't comment on that. How many pages are required? But uh, if you are in a situation where the professor might not know, is not very experienced at writing recommendation letters, you can have a discussion with him that this is what the university requires. They require me to showcase my performance during my thesis. They also want someone who can vouch for my communication skills, and they want someone who can tell them how I was performing academically in my classes. So once you've given them these 3 pointers, they will definitely be able to come with an answer to all those 3 questions. And yeah, I don't think I went beyond that. It was just there was one professor who I had to tell that, okay, this is the university, this is the research program, this is what they're looking for, this is the work I did with you, I just want to remind you, and I would like if you can give me comments on that. So I think that's all. That was all from my side
Okay,
with
we
regard.
have another question. Is work experience a must to apply for the masters? Apurva, if you can answer this, and I mean, immediately after a student graduates, the student is in a catch-22 situation. Uh, they'll go for a placement, or they should go for a master's. So, what do you think has worked with you, and if you can just give your views on it?
I feel having a work experience either in form of some research internship or in form of a corporate like a job it's always good to have that, because like I also did not go for my masters right after my bachelor. So I worked for a year and a half, and then I did some research work under a professor, and it actually can change your application. So you should keep in mind, if you have a low GPA in your undergrads, so you should actually have something to back up your application. Work experience in the relevant field and like research work in the relevant field will actually change your application, and would is like always a plus point.
Anyone else who wants to add to it? Rana?
Yeah, so I am one of those who applied when I was in my final year. But I agree with these guys. Now I have deferred my admit, but it has nothing to do with COVID or pandemic or whatever. The day I got, it's important to have job experience. Like the day I got my job, my offer letter, I deferred my admit. It's important that you have relevant job experience. That's important. What you want to go for, is that going to help? So that is important. If you're getting relevant job experience, then yes, I would recommend you to go to probably have some job experience and then go for your masters.
Yeah, I think those were important points. Uh, Seeing the time, I think we have to conclude the session here. On behalf of Education USA India, thank you so much, all the panelists, for joining us. And the participants, I'm sure you like this program. Your feedback is important. You can always write to us at Education USA India at usif.org.in. We promise to get back to you. And we look forward to interacting with the participants, um, the panelists. Thank you once again. I mean, it was just a call. You agreed to be on this session. We will be disturbing you again. We will be writing back to you. We will be asking you to share your excellent inputs with other students also. I think we will conclude the session here. Thank you, everyone. And a special thanks to my colleagues in Ahmedabad, Janet, Jaddeep, Megha, for supporting to have this session and have wonderful discussion on graduate studies in the US.
Thank you for having us, guys. This was awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.